air dry clay. It's a wonderful craft medium. I'm really excited to share this fun air dry clay project with you today. Many people have stamps for their crafting, and lots of people have asked me, how do I really successfully stamp into my air dry clay? And the best way to add colour. And so today I'm going to answer those questions. I'm going to share with you my tips, tricks and techniques, and we can also make our own stamps, and I'll show you that a little bit later in the video. It's really quick, simple and easy. These stamps are designed for using with ink, but I really do love using them in my air dry clay. My first tip is to mark the centre of the air dry clay. Whenever I stamp a longer word or a message into air dry clay, I like to find the centre and then work from the centre, as you can see I've done here. So a bit of preparation works in your favour here. But remember, well-made plans don't always go quite to plan. I put the wrong letter in here. Air dry clay is so forgiving with a little smooth out. My mistake has easily been corrected. When I stamp, I like to stamp all the way down and add that little square border around. You don't have to do that if you prefer it without this. Or you can get actual clay stamps that stamp much deeper, just the letter without the borders. This is what I have, so this is what I use. Cutting the clay to shape with my ruler. And again, I've made another mistake. I actually caught the Y there with my fingernail, and I've totally distorted that. So not to worry, smooth it out again, and we're able to imprint the letter once again on the smoothed out clay. I'm making this as an air dry clay plaque to hang up in my kitchen, but be creative and explore the possibilities of all the different air dry clay projects you could stamp into. Other shapes and designs can be formed with other items that you have around your home, so experiment and have a play with indenting the clay. I love making these bud vases with air dry clay, and I do have a video of how to make them really simply and easily. You can add lettering to all of these kind of projects too. While you're stamping, add some support on the inside if you need to. Making our own and finding alternative ways to stamp is also great fun, and I'll share some more of these with you a little later in the video. Combine techniques and experiment. Why not use this technique to add your name to the base of a project like that? I was out shopping the other day and I found this really fun pasta. And my immediate thought when I saw it was I can use this with my air dry clay. Only needing to take 26 pieces of pasta out of the packet. This is definitely the cheapest way I could purchase any letter stamps. And they're pretty effective too. I'll show you how they paint up really soon. Shop bought stamps come in all sizes and so many different designs, and any of these that you have can be used in the same way, indenting the air dry clay beautifully. The air dry clay itself can also be made into beautifully unique stamps. Indent the clay with any items you have from around your home. Let the clay dry fully, varnish them, and then they are ready to use. I have another video where I go into lots more detail about imprinting in air dry clay. I'll put the link in the description below if you're interested. Let the air dry clay dry fully, naturally in the air. When you try out a new technique, I recommend doing some smaller pieces to get a feel for how it works for you. When it comes to painting the lettering, many people use a fine brush and really try and paint into that detail. Results can be disappointing and it takes forever. In the past, I've sometimes painted onto the letter and then stamped this into the wet clay, not with great results either. And also stamping in the ink pad and then stamping this on. Also not the best results for me. So I've developed this really easy technique that I know you're going to love. Taking the fully dried air dry clay with the letters on, I take a varnish or a sealant, this one being a water-based acrylic varnish, and paint a nice thin layer over the whole piece of clay. Or if you do want the clay coloured, it's time to paint the air dry clay at this stage, before the sealant. We can have our projects any colour this way. Really make sure it's a thin application of paint and you don't clog up any of those letters. painting with acrylic paint with just a dash of water in to loosen it slightly. This piece has the water-based acrylic varnish on and it's fully dried, and this is where the magic happens. I have some black acrylic paint, spreading this all over the lettering, and then with just a slightly damp cloth, not a wet cloth, but a slightly damp cloth, I can very easily wipe away the excess. I really love the rustic look with this technique and how the paint can get stuck in the little boxes, but if you don't, I'm just using a cotton bud there to wipe away any excess. These red and green pieces have had the varnish layer put over the acrylic paint, and it works in exactly the same way. The white on the red looks lovely. Larger stamps like this don't work so well as there's a bit too much surface area that the paint can catch away with. Have a play and experiment, as there's so many fantastic ways in which we can use our stamps like this. There's nothing revolutionary here, similar techniques are used in ceramics, but I've never seen anyone do this with air dry clay. I wanted to demonstrate to you what happens if you don't seal the air dry clay before adding the paint. Here, this is just the bare air dry clay, and I'm painting on the acrylic paint. When we go to wipe away the paint, the air dry clay is porous, and so that paint does stick and it stains, but you know you can get some really beautiful results doing things in this way as well. Let me know in the comments below what you're thinking of making with this lettering technique. I do hope you give it a go. This yellow bird piece is painted in yellow acrylic paint, and then I'm going straight in once it was dry with the white acrylic paint. Some of the white clings to the yellow, but it is possible to do acrylic paint on acrylic paint and then varnish once dry. You can add even more detail and different paint colours to your piece before adding in the painted letter detail. Let the acrylic paint dry and then seal everything fully in a craft varnish. The varnish just behaves as a smooth surface for us to then be able to smooth the acrylic paint away. It's a very satisfying part of the process, and I hope you'll agree gives really beautiful results. In my opinion, the pasta has worked really well too. Once these smaller pieces have dried, I give them all a coat of acrylic varnish. For a piece with so many letters like this, it would take a really long time to individually paint in all those letters. The acrylic varnish can leave some brush marks, and sometimes the acrylic paint can get stuck in these, but personally I absolutely love the effect that this creates. Just using an old rag that you can throw away, making sure you dampen it slightly, as it makes it much easier to smooth away that paint. As you can see here, and as I said earlier, the deeper stamps that you get for clay making would work even better, as the indent would be even deeper. And that way, when we brush away the paint, you won't drag the paint out like I have here slightly, but not to worry, those tiny little details, if we need to add them in, we can do with a fine paintbrush. Still a lot quicker than painting each one individually. A big thank you to those of you that's pressed the super thanks button recently. If you enjoy my videos, please do subscribe and let me know what you think about this video in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please do watch my next creative video.